So, during every pit or powered industrial truck training class, your instructor will mention, and I hope he or she will review the operator's manual with us. This week, I had an individual ask why this was so important. He stated that nobody reads those manuals. And I can understand his statement. Did you know that when we purchase a new vehicle or car, we, as a new owner, are supposed to read the owner's manual? Have you ever looked and seen how many warning stickers that are in the vehicle? Come on, you've seen them, maybe up on the passenger visor. I had one gentleman comment, and he had just purchased a new vehicle, that all he looked at was how to work the new car radio. You know, I'm always hearing how thick they are, or how long it would take to read through the entire thing. When you open an operator's manual, you'll find that it pretty much covers all the sessions that you just reviewed during your pit class. And a lot of times when that book looks so big, it is that it may be in 2 or 3 different languages, making them appear much thicker than they should be. Just remember that it is your responsibility as an operator to know each type of equipment that you're going to be operating. And it's your responsibility to know how to get that operator's manual. If your facility does not have them mounted on the equipment, and many don't because they can get pretty dirty and nasty, just ask your supervisor. He or she will be able to get one to you. You know, also in today's world, with the help of Google or any browser and our smartphones, we have the manuals in our hands and can get questions answered immediately, anytime that we need them. It's important to know your equipment and know how to find that operator's manual. It is your responsibility. Okay, what's next? I made some notes for today. Oh shoot, I forgot to welcome you and thank you for visiting with us today. I'm Marty, and you've honored us here at Warehouse and Operations as a career, and I appreciate your time today. Okay, so what I wanted to share was that our reach lift over at the Distribution Training Center started dropping hydraulic oil on the floor Tuesday. Now, it turns out that the oil filter had worked itself loose and was allowing oil to run out the overflow hose and down the lift and then to the floor. Now, it wasn't a whole lot, mind you, but as we all know, a little hydraulic oil is quite the mess. Our preventive maintenance service came by, checked it out, and noticed that the oil filter was loose and leaking that oil. He stated he felt like possibly during the cold snap that had froze Texas up last week, that the O-ring may have gotten cold and backed off a little. It was really kind of funny because earlier that morning I had mentioned to a coworker that I bet it was leaking from the filter or the oil reservoir. He asked me why you didn't just check it and tighten it. Maybe you could have saved $100. I reminded him, as we all learned during our pit training, we are not allowed to turn a wrench on a piece of powered industrial equipment, and that is a good thing actually for us as operators. Think about it. You wouldn't want anyone except a licensed and certified mechanic working on your equipment. You want it to be done correctly. And it's important to remember that if anyone does any type of mechanic work on our equipment, and it is still in warranty or under a service contract, which almost all of your equipment will be, we could void that warranty or that contract. And that could be a very expensive hit to our company. So with all that, that's exactly why I did not check the filter or the reservoir myself. Sticking to our pit theme today, last week I was told about an incident where an individual was on an electric rider jack and had hurt his heel. Now he required a little bit of medical attention. Fortunately, it wasn't too awful bad. But the supervisor said he was doing everything right or was correctly operating the piece of equipment at the time. Now I had initially heard that he was in an aisle on an electric rider pallet jack, a platform rider, in control, that he had a pallet stuck on the forks. It was said that he had crunched his heel between the platform and a warehouse post. Now, of course, my first thought was that he had to be standing on the floor or maybe had his foot hanging off of or dangling from the jack, in some way. His supervisor was adamant that his associate had done nothing wrong, though. Well, safety handled the report. I know an investigation was underway and pictures and statements had been gathered. I think everything was being put together as all accident investigations are developed. Anyway, so this week I was doing another pit observation, and as the student was coming out of an aisle, setting up his turn, I saw how his feet was positioned and his stance on the platform. The light bulb went off immediately in my head. I asked the student to freeze and asked him not to move. He had his left foot, the toe of his boot, placed firmly up against the housing of the pallet jack. The heel of his boot was hanging off, about an inch and maybe an inch and a half from the end of the platform, lining up with the warehouse post as he would have been coming out of the aisle. Now, if he had stopped or been stopped trying to come out of a pallet, he could have backed into the post with his heel. Our contention had been, if this scenario was what had happened, was that when the heel had made contact with the post, it would have just scooted his foot or his boot forward. I had just seen how it could have actually happened. I'm pretty sure I've never witnessed an operator jamming their toe area into the hood or the cover of the jack before. That could have explained how the accident happened. Well, I immediately called the facility manager and the safety department to explain what I had just seen. It made sense to everyone, and now I know of at least 4 instructors that have one additional thing that they teach too. Here's another good one to talk about. Yesterday, I heard about a near-miss report that had been sent into the company's safety department. This particular safety manager has been working with, I think it's 2 or 3 young supervisors on how to develop a strong culture of safety. Now, each one of them have some great crew members, very experienced associates at their jobs. And as we all know, sometimes along with all that experience comes bad habits. Anyway, so the near-miss report stated that this individual was operating a stand-up lift up on the front dock area, and the associate, while bringing the equipment to a stop, stepped off the back of it and the machine rolled another foot or so. Now, this is a smaller warehouse. I think they have 4 unloaders there, including the supervisor. So in the supervisor's mind, he scolded the associate, pointed out how dangerous that is and that it went against every bit of training he had been receiving lately and that he did not want to ever see it happen again. Well, the safety manager explained it was not really a near miss to them. There had actually been not just a procedure ignored, but a rule, a law broken. After speaking with the young supervisor, they came to the conclusion that the associate should receive a written coaching or warning for the act and a 1-day suspension without pay. I'd like to chime in here for just a minute. To a 4-man crew, when one is missing, that is 25% of your shift. I get it. No one wants to voluntarily give up 8 man-hours. I can relate to the supervisor's concerns. He has to get tomorrow's trucks unloaded. That's his responsibility. This is where us as frontline management have to step up in our thinking, though. Yes, he is responsible for getting the doors closed. However, and more importantly, he is responsible for the safety of all his employees and with providing them a safe work environment. I feel it is our responsibility to make sure that that culture is instilled within our shifts. If it is, then we won't have these types of negligent horseplay occur in our house. So, we won't have to suspend a great employee. As an employee, it is our responsibility to be professional at all times. And as a frontline manager, it is our responsibility to teach our associates how to be and the importance of being a professional, the best of the best. Well, there's a little about my last few days. Can you relate to any of that? Send me a couple of things that's happened to you this week. Shoot us an email to host@warehouseandoperationsasAcareer.com. I'd love to hear from each of you. I'll start a thread on the Warehouse Equipment Operators Community Facebook group too. Feel free to share something there. Until next week, and I do hope you'll check back with us next week, let's all check our responsibility meters and stay safe at 100%.